9.
Take 9. Chapter 1, Take 9, March 19th.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us. We are making a Chinese herbal medicinal to boost the immune system today. This is not intended to diagnose, treat, or cure any disease. This is a combination of the jade windscreen powder and the cinnamon twig and peony decoction. And we've left a couple ingredients of those out, mushed them together, and we're adding in ginseng, the sovereign medicinal of the Chinese Materia Medica. Apprentice, do you want to run this over to the camera so they can see?
Yes.
So we're going to use the, hold it up higher, a little higher, or no, just look on the camera so the screen so you can see if they're seeing it or not. There you go. So we're going to use the red ginseng, often called Korean red ginseng or just red ginseng. Thank you, Apprentice. We're not going to use the Siberian or the American. It has got to be red. Those are the other types of ginseng are different. And this is expensive, but we don't need to use a lot, only 3 grams. So a quick little note about using your scale. There's a word on here, T-A-R-E, it's tare. And what that does is it recalibrates to 0. So you keep your container on there, hit the tare button, and then your container will be recalibrated to 0, so you don't have to do the math. So we're just going to get 3 grams there. There we go. Awesome. Okay, so we got 3 grams. Put that in on the plate for later. So now, every time you pick this up, put it back down, hit the tare button, because scales are sensitive and they might need to be recalibrated. So this is not as precise as a pharmaceutical, because these are not pharmaceuticals. This is somewhere between a food that's good for you and a pharmaceutical, so it's herbal. And that's basically herbs are very potent, but they are not as potent as pharmaceuticals, so you need to have an idea of how much you're using, but you don't have to go crazy with micrograms. Grams are more than sufficient for understanding this. So our next herbal medicinal, Apprentice?
I have a question.
Yes, please.
Aren't we on chapter 2? Because look what's on the oven.
Well, that's like the cooking show where we pretend like, oh look, this is in here on the inside the oven, look what's left here. So anyway. So our next medicinal is astragalus, or Huang Qi in Chinese. My Chinese is not meant to be accurate, it's just how an acupuncturist like me just says it in Chinese. I'm sure my tones are all wrong. Not even trying for the tones, really. Okay, thank you, Apprentice. So, astragalus, or Huang Qi, is, it is said to lift the spleen yang, and lifting up yang, or raising clear yang, if that happens a little extreme in your body, it can make you feel lightheaded. So if after this decoction you feel a little dizzy, a little lightheaded, it's probably the astragalus. So right now we're doing 9 grams, but if that happens, you get a little dizzy, just cut it down to 6 and that should be fine. If you're still a little dizzy, cut it down to 3. So you can reduce by thirds until the formula doesn't make you feel dizzy or overactive. The next we're using is Lotus rhizome, or Bai Zhu. Apprentice, I'll run this up to the camera so they can see. There we go. So this is another spleen tonic. It's the Huang Qi is the first ingredient of jade windscreen. Bai Zhu is the second. There you go, Apprentice. Nice job. So in Chinese medicine, the health of the immune system is dependent upon the nutritive qi. The nutritive qi is created by the spleen, and so if your nutritive qi is weak, then your defensive qi will also be weak. So nutritive qi is here, defensive qi is here. If this goes away, then this is going to go down. In Chinese medicine, the defensive qi keeps things out.
Why did you touch my head?
Because your head is the 0 point.
Oh.
Alright, so you can pour this in, Apprentice. There we go.
But I'm doing it fancy.
So you'll find that herbs are very, very pretty, and the desire to make art out of them is essentially overwhelming.
I'm doing that right now.
It happens to the best of us.
I'm making it really fancy right now.
That's right. Alright, so now we have our Bai Zhu. That's 8 or 9 grams. Huang Qi, 8 or 9 grams. Ren Shen, or ginseng, is 3 grams. Now we're going to good old licorice. And licorice is high in potassium. So traditionally in Chinese medicine, here, you run this up so they can see what that looks like?
Licorice.
In Chinese medicine,
Closer?
we only use 3 grams because you
Okay, I
take
get
a
that
lot of
as yes,
licorice.
closer.
So if you have only 3 grams, then you're not going to overdo your potassium. Here, put that in there. Put this back. Go with that here.
I want a fancy way.
Okay, make it fancy. So this is licorice that is dry fried in honey. So it's Zhi Gan Cao, CHIGANCAO, our honey dry fried licorice. And this is a sort of a general tonic for the body. It also serves to harmonize the herbs. And if we're using an herbal medicinal which is toxic, which we're not today, then the licorice neutralizes some of that toxicity. So we say more like harsh. I'm not going to ever do anything which is truly toxic. Just things that can be really harmful.
Can I bring it over to the camera?
Don't put your hand in. You got to keep it clean. We have of course washed our hands, but sometimes our apprentices get a little overly enthusiastic. So this is Da Zhao. This is black Da Zhao. There's also red Da Zhao. That's a little more common. But for the purpose of this formula, the difference between red and black Da Zhao is negligible. This is the jujube fructus, or the date of the jujube plant. And that and licorice are part of a trio called the Three Sisters. The third part of the trio is ginger, fresh ginger. Wayman's, do you want to run this over so they can see the fresh ginger root? This is a
Stop calling me that.
Oh, apprentice. Would you like to run this over so they can see the? Thank you. So they can see the ginger root. So this
It's kind of been cut, like you see.
Right. And it's a honking specimen of ginger. You don't. I mean, I got this because end times and all, but you don't need anything that big. This is a little bit more typical for a ginger root size. And you want to use about 3 grams. Hold on. You want to use 3 grams of ginger, 3 to 6. And perfect. That turned out to be 5. So we've cut the ginger so it can increase the surface area of the red or the yellow flesh in there. So how do you want to arrange that for us?
I want to arrange it like this.
Okay. So there haven't been any studies as to whether or not your arrangement goes into the efficacy of the medicinal, but empirical data has indicated the more love you put into your formula, the better it will work. Very similar to the more love that goes into your cooking, the better that shall work too. What is it, apprentice?
Are we starting chapter 2?
Not yet. So the next step is we need 4 cups of water. And when you have your 4 cups of water, you bring it to a simmer. Add your herbs, and then let it simmer for 2 hours. So you can have it, I like to have mine covered so I don't go too low. So after 2 hours of simmering, the 4 cups of water and the herbs, you'll have about 2 cups, give or take, that are left over. After this, you want to strain the liquid from the plant product, and then let that cool. Now, the liquid you have, we'll call it 2 cups of decoction, give or take, and you're going to cut this in half or pour it in half, and each half is a day's dose. So if you're doing it for 1 person, you make the decoction, you drink half of it the day you've made it, and you drink the second half the next day. This is a tonic decoction. Tonic means to augment, especially Huang Qi and ginseng. They have a very strong property to give you energy. So it is not recommended to mix this with your caffeine. Make sure this and your caffeine are spaced apart. And if you have this too late in the day, it will keep you up a bit at night. Now, if you're making this for 2 people, you can split it. If you have
Like me.
right, if you have an apprentice who is about 7 or so, then you're going to want to have them. They can have this, but they should have about a
This guy.
quarter.
This guy is also gonna have it.
Yes, we're going to have this.
And me?
So I'm going to have half, and he's going to have a quarter, because a child can have this, but it should be significantly less than an adult, because we're going for basic adult, average adult sizes. If you are significantly larger than the average adult, you can increase the components by 1/3, and if you are significantly smaller than the average adult, then you will want to decrease your ingredients by 1/3. And if you're a child, just we'll make this formula and then cut it into 4s rather than 2s. And then when you are finished, the herbs will be depleted and you can toss them. But if you find yourself in the most dire of straits, give them another
Don't
cook
say that yet.
for an hour and you can squeeze a little bit more of medicinal out of them. Best of luck. Thank you so much for joining us. Do you have anything you want to say, apprentice?